Greetings, everybody. Just now getting in. That's why I guess it almost kind of sounds like I'm just catching my breath. Just wanted to make this video. And this is actually one of those videos, to be honest with you, where something is on my heart. I am concerned for God's people. I got a book in my hand. Hopefully you can see it. That book was written by the late Joan Vion, and I put that in there because I'm about to talk about her a little bit. And who knows, maybe after listening to this, you may want to get her book. She has two, I think she wrote two books. This is the United Nations Global Straitjacket. The other book she wrote was Prince Charles, A Sustainable Prince. I'm writing this, I'm not writing, wow. I'm doing this video though, had to set that down there. Doing this video, again, out of concern. A lot of the people of God, not everybody, but a lot of the people of God are not paying attention. They're not paying attention. And some of you, have been on Facebook for a while and have been my friends for a while and have been friends with others. I'm not going to make this about me. I hate, anybody that knows me knows I hate to make it about me. It's not about me. But you've been friends with me, with others for a while. And the frustrating thing is, some of the others I'm about to name have talked about what I'm about to talk about. I've talked about it, have warned, they've warned, and it seems like that some of it is like it didn't register. With all due respect, it just did not register with some of you. You did not get what we were trying to say, apparently, because right now it's like deception is brewing, and some of you are buying into it. But I'm going to get to that in a minute. Years ago, I was listening to an interview, and the person being interviewed was Joan Vion. Joan Vion has now passed away. She was a Christian. She was a businesswoman, and because of her business, being a businesswoman, she was able to be in global meetings. Now, I don't know if she was able to be in any CFR or Trilateral Commission meetings, but she was able to be in meetings, though, where she was able to sit in on meetings where it was talked about in fairly blunt detail, that they were trying to create a global system. And, in the midst of a meeting, I think she was talking about probably about the mid-90s. It's like the Lord even arrested her attention, if I remember her telling it correctly. And she was like, oh my God, I'm sitting right in the middle of world government. Like, they're planning a world government. So with this, she went home, read. This woman was very intelligent. I might share some of her videos. Extremely intelligent. You want to understand the nuts and bolts of what's happening. Even though she's gone, you read United Nations Global Straitjacket, you will understand, or read any of her articles, you will understand the nuts and bolts of what they're doing. The nuts and bolts. She's one of many, but she had a very good understanding of what was happening, how the central banks were being used, the economic side of things, and even a lot of the political, I would say, side of things. Just well researched. But anyway, during her interview, she was asked about the protesters that would be at these meetings. They were called anti-globalization protesters. And when she was asked about this, I was listening, as I was listening to this, as she was asked about this, she said, oh, she kind of said casually, she said, but she knew she was kind of, dropping the bomb. She's like, oh, she said, those are bought and paid for. She said, those are controlled opposition is basically what she was saying. And now, why would they need controlled opposition? They needed controlled opposition because the agendas they were pushing in the meeting were not the agendas they wanted. The agendas in the meeting were politically correct to a great degree. So what they do is they have those protesters out there protesting and acting just a complete nut. And then someone in the meeting would say, oh, invite them in. We need to give them a voice. As if they're giving the people a voice. But of course, this wasn't really you and me, but these were people that already were going along with the agenda, basically. Let me say this. A lot of those anti-globalization protesters were socialists. So what do you think their agenda is? When they would come in, they would speak against capitalism. Are y'all listening to me? They would speak against capitalism. I mean, this is back before this stuff got out. Those that have researched this know that the agenda is a socialism of some form. So all of you wanting socialism, you're wanting their system, and you're wanting their system because they have basically programmed you to want it. I know you don't want to hear that. You don't like that. I got my own mind. Well, I could really break down how they have manipulated you into wanting their system. You want their system. Some of you are talking about you want Bernie Sanders. Bernie Sanders would give you their system. And he's saying it out front. At least Hillary's kind of trying to hide it. He's saying, I'm a socialist. Vote for me. Anyway, that's not what I want to talk about, though. My main point was they needed controlled opposition. Why? It's a political tactic. If you miss everything I've said before, I don't need you to miss what I'm about to say now. It's called pressure from above, pressure from below. There's some that are just waking up and really know. They know about the international bankers. They know about the industrialists, the bloodlines and all the. But here's the thing. If you take a Rockefeller or a DuPont or a Freeman or anybody like that, and that maybe has presence or representatives in meetings like that, here's the thing. They don't interact really with everyday society. So, they are where they are, but in order to make changes happen, they need pressure. Not only that's from above, they also need pressure from below. So how does that happen? That happens through them financing movements. Are you listening to me? That comes through them financing movements, getting movements started, creating social unrest. I feel to say this. There's a guy that wrote a book called The Committee of 300, John Coleman. And he wrote Tavistock Institute of Human Relations and Diplomacy by Deception. I mentioned these three books because I have these three books. There's a controversy over him, but apparently he was apparently a former member of MI6, a British intelligence arm of British intelligence, part of British intelligence. Okay. Here's one reason why I'm mentioning him, and he has credibility with me. He wrote Committee of 300 in the early 90s. There he laid out a 20-some point plan that the Committee of 300 had. Committee of 300 is a lower level. It's a high level, but not the highest level of the Illuminati, And in any event, he wrote in there about some of the things that they wanted to do. But if you also read in there, he talks about some of what I'm talking about. Gary Allen, the late Gary Allen, talked about it a little bit and talked about how, the author of None Dare Call It Conspiracy, how they like to create, have pressure from above and pressure from below. This is all to where it looks like, okay, what do? They create a movement. Here's what they do. Ralph Epperson, does excellent explaining this in The Unseen Hand, if I remember correctly. What they do is they create a movement or finance it or somehow have something to do with it. They're wanting this. This is also the Hegelian dialectic really in operation to a great degree. But they'll finance a movement. This movement will appear to be anti-establishment. So it will appear like that this group is going against them. Or for some people, the elusive them. For those of us to know the elite. And this group will appear to be a voice of the people, a voice of the oppressed, and the cause will seem good. They'll have marches. They'll riot. See, this is the danger of having movements. Movements can be infiltrated. If you're going to have a movement, you need to be wise about how you have the movement. But anyway, they'll do these things, and they'll do these things to create the necessary pressure from below, to create the necessary friction for the people themselves to begin to demand. And just to create, if all the people don't command, it will at least create an unrest among the populace. To where they're like, okay, we got to do something. Something needs to be done. All along, the populace does not have a clue that they're being manipulated. And I said all that to say this. I'm looking, and some of us that are believers that I know are spirit-filled believers, that I know hear from God, I know, but are not paying attention. You're not paying attention and you don't see the deception that is happening. Why is it? Have you noticed, saints? And this is for the saints. If anybody else picks up on it, cool. But I'm talking really to the saints. Has anybody noticed how much race is being brought up now? Super Bowl became about race. Everything is becoming about race. Every time a video is shared on Facebook, and I'm convinced that there are some people putting some videos on Facebook, and they're putting them on Facebook to make people mad, to make them upset. Because, like I said, I've been warning. Prophet Joshua Embry has been warning. Apostle Gaskins has been warning. Bayer Hayes has been warning. I know some other people that have been warning for years. My friend Nikki Booker, she's been warning that they are trying to provoke. She has been, man, I think about it, she has warned a lot. That they're trying to provoke a race war. They've been trying to do that. And it's not about necessarily just a race war. It's about creating an environment where things are not, where there's social unrest, where there has to be really a civil emergency, where there has to be martial law, where everybody starts just going ham on each other. And they're doing this because they know very soon they're about to pull the plug. They're more than likely about to pull the plug on the economy. So wake up. Wake up. This is manipulation at its finest. Wake up. Look deeper than the surface. That's why God gives us discernment. Bless you.